Hi. So let me start with an ask. Who is the one that can predict the future? Today, when we speak about the rapid change economy, predicting the future is more important than analyzing the past. Over the years, we can see science fiction movies as great demonstration to show the power of imagination in the world of art and design, to predict the future of technologies and to accelerate development of new technologies as Star Trek, Jules Verne, Back to the Future are only a few examples of movies that predicted the future of flat screens, AI, hands-free game, and so on. This is a very interesting survey, try to investigate which are the professions that predict the future of the economy, technology, culture, humanity, and the planet. We could think that the results of this survey will be like that each one knows to predict the future in his specialized discipline. But in fact, the results look more like that. The business predict the future of the planet and humanity, science predict the future of culture, the arts predict the future of culture and technology, and so on. And what does it mean? Looking only inside one discipline, we likely miss the big picture. And the arts has the power to understand the full potential that bring technology and cultural transformation and exploit their full potential. And therefore, companies that wants to innovate needs to design. Me personally, I started my professional journey as a software developer trained in the military service, which brought me directly to the high-tech and multimedia sector in the 90s. And I remember a very specific moment in the company which I understood the power of the design team in taking the most strategic decisions for the company navigation of the company and the products to the future. And at that time, I made a decision with myself to come back to this industry with design capacity. So I left to study design, then I did master design in Italy. So in practice, I'm an engineer turned into designer, turned into business designer, turned into an entrepreneur, coming back to Israel to set up the Innovation Center in Shenkar. And what was a personal insight, now it's a global phenomenon in leading companies. We can see more and more companies acknowledging the quality of creativity and impact to their business. And we can see new positions as the Vice President Customer Experience in Deutsche Telekom, a partner experience design at McKinsey, customer-inspired innovation at 3M, Vice President, Chief Design Officer at 3M. So this is really the positions of design leaders and in a way also the jobs of the future. It's interesting to see 3M, the powerhouse for science and technology, investing in the last years in design, opening design centers in the US, in Italy, in Japan, and in India, enlarging the design team dramatically, and building new mindset for the company to prepare the company for the future. And this brings immediate measurable results to the company. Just 1 year after opening the first design center, the company brand value rise in $1 billion. WeWork is another example of a company that progressed to be a design company with a strategic partnership with star architect Bjork and Glaze that will develop the company's vision for their neighborhoods and offices. Again, have an immediate return in the brand value with this strategy for design differentiation. And there is more and more data that measure the impact of design on business performance and how investing in design returns in the bottom line. This is a design index show that design-driven companies outperform in the stock exchange almost in 230% more than the S&P index. And this is not true only for big public companies. 31% of global startups nowadays are founded by designers, and this is the leading companies of our times that their products and services we consume on a daily basis. Airbnb, Instagram, Kickstarter. In view of the rapid change that the world is facing, they present a new type, a new mindset of innovation. Much more than aesthetic, they reinvent the entire industry that they operate in. So the creative industries bring economic value in presenting new business model, new way of exchanging resources, setting new rules, rethinking traditional models, and proposing alternatives that bring a competitive advantage in the market. The creative economy is a term that sets to set creativity throughout the entire any sector, developing a new language of innovation, data visualization, journey maps, user experience, and so on. These are the new capacities that that business needs to have today. In a global map, a first map done by Ernst & Young, we can see the creative industries generate 3% of the world GDP. This is a very dynamic, with a very dynamic growth rate, much higher than telecommunication. In Europe, you can see contribution of the creative industry in about 8 to 12% of the European GDP. And Israel is the startup nation known mainly for technological innovation, was left behind in acknowledging until recently the power of creative industries to generate the economy, to contribute for growth and higher productivity. So we set up the Innovation Center at Shenkar with these exciting times that the role of design is changing. We became setting up the center after spending few years in Europe. It was right at the beginning that we set the goal to have a national impact and to bring design innovation into the highest level of the national agenda. So with the years, we became the knowledge center for the creative economy. We work on policy recommendation. We run leadership and design accelerator programs. And now we just won a national grant to open a joint entrepreneurship center with Tel Aviv University. And over the years, we won European grants to connect Israel to the world and to develop the creative industries, not only from education perspective, but again, also on a national level, working with the Ministry of Economy, public and businesses. With this capacity, we did the first survey on the creative industries in Israel. Looking inside the teams that founded startups in Israel, we can reveal a new story for the startup nation and see that more and more startups are founded by creative professionals coming from design or from cinema or even choreography background, and not the typical tech or business persona that would imagine. And we see 66% rise in direct foreign investment in the creative industries in Israel. And also we find out that companies that invest in design register more patents. So in this context, it's interesting to see a quotation of Shai Vininger, co-founder of Lemonade and Fiverr, interviewed in Kalkalist 2 weeks ago, stating that design is more important than technology, and the first employee of the company has to be a designer. It's especially interesting in view of the launch of the successful launch of Fiverr in the New York Stock Exchange these days. So we were able to create a critical mass of change in the Israeli In the Israeli understanding of the design capacities, we work closely in the Ministry of Economy with the Strategic and Planning Department and with the Investment Center. And we write the National Strategy for Creative Israel 2020. This is really a breakthrough in Israel for the first time. We work with them to implement new funding scheme within the Productivity and Industry 4.0 funding program to acknowledge creative innovation, including process innovation, business model innovation, product innovation, innovation in user experiences, design thinking, or combination between them. So not only technological innovation, and these funds are now available for industry at any kind. And if this will be successful, we can see a really significant change in the capital investment in Israel in the next years. We also set up an international knowledge exchange platform, signing bilateral agreement between the Minister of Economy of Israel and Austria in a visit in Israel to develop and to cooperate around the creative economy. And now we work to include more and more countries to join this effort. So let me just share with you a short movie that sums up this journey.
The future economy is the creative economy. Around the world, creative professionals are taking the reins of innovation, founding companies, leading organizations, and inspiring a new generation to follow in their footsteps. Yet in Israel, a legacy of scientific achievement has created an overdependence on technology as the sole engine of innovation. How can the startup nation become the creative nation? How do we adapt to a changing economy and forge a path for creative leaders to make an impact? By design. Begin at the country's preeminent institution. Invest in an inspired core of talented innovators. Cultivate their entrepreneurial potential and empower them to become tomorrow's creative leaders. Facilitate outward expansion into academia and industry, where design innovations are adopted into the DNA of leading organizations. Enlist support to build bridges that connect Israel to the rest of the world and leverage this success to ensure an ongoing commitment to the creative economy. At Shenkar is securing funding, rewriting the national narrative, and elevating creative innovation to its rightful place in the Israeli ecosystem. We've just begun our journey. Imagine where we'll go from here.
So the creative industries are here to stay, and we are setting the foundation for Israel as the creative nation. We are establishing the Creative Economy Leadership Board, and I invite you to join us for the fourth industrial revolution, which I call it Design 4.0.